Hello there, and welcome to another episode of the Task Force Roadshow. That's right. In today's episode, we have the Avengers, and it only seems appropriate. I'm sure y'all can see that. Uh, I had to dress up for the part. You know what I'm saying? Uh, So, way back in, I think, episode 1 it was, I was talking about the fact that the Brute Squad, look, I can say the name right now, um, come on, you join the Brute Squad, and then you've got Brute Force in Brute Squad, it's gonna mess you up. But, much like that particular task force, this task force, obvi, has a theme. The theme being the Avengers. To the point where, there are people in the task force named after Avengers. Now, saying that, don't get me wrong, it is headed up by Greenbean and Flea Biscuit. I don't know. They're curiouser and curiouser are those names, but Flea Biscuit especially. I'm thinking like dog biscuit, but with. Anyways, this particular task force, the Avengers, Avengers, is currently roaming around in the old Sour Grapes region of the task force maps. It is a 25-man. Obviously, as usual, the hashtag down below in the comments. As also usual, the Q&A, like full Q&A, down also in the comments. Because, well, that's where I put the things. It would be stupid to put it anywhere else. I could put it in tags, and then you wouldn't be able to see it unless you looked at the source. Let's not get into this. So, as usual, sorry, I'm just trying to turn off my phone so that it does not continue to make noises over there. Why and or how did this whole task force come together? And of course, as it should have been, this task force came together because Captain America, the Cap, first joined the task force. It was mostly like inactive. Everyone just kind of wrote everything off. Oh my goodness, there we go. Sorry. So then, I guess Jacob started a new task force that everyone who was still active moved to, and then he left because he was upset with other players. There was some discord in the whole shebang there. So Greenbean / Flea Biscuit took lead while he was kind of away, not being happy with people. And it kind of got to the point where, it was just getting ridiculous. They were getting tired of the breakdown in communication. And then obviously because they didn't have, full bore task force leader abilities, things got really messy. And so they, just figured, screw this, creating the new Avengers task force, and then told everybody who was in the old one that still wanted to be in the task force, hey, come on over. And then, over, a couple of weeks, people moved over, everything got cleaned up, and everybody lived happily ever after. Which is interesting, because this is, obviously Mutiny's mutinied, the Mutiny, way back in you know, episode. Oh man, I don't even know what episode things are anymore. It really all starts to blend together, and I'm just like, oh yeah, the thing with the guys and the stuffs. You know how? Yeah, sure, for sure. Um, so, like, it seems like this almost is a pretty common, I guess, starting point for task forces. Just like complete discord and silliness and all kinds of bad things happening, and a bunch of people get together from the trash and like make something beautiful like a flower. Um, and obviously because you know they've put forth the effort and made it work for everybody, they are rewarded with a bad butt task force that kicks arse and chews bubblegum and is all out of bubblegum. Presumably. I think they have tried it. For anyone who is from a country that doesn't have Trident gum, it's like it's a gum, but it's not really like a bubble gum. Well, I guess you could blow bubbles, but not as many bubbles or as good a bubble as, say, like if you've had Hubba Bubba, which is just fun to say. But aside from just sitting around saying Hubba Bubba, it's a very bubbly. Okay, you know what? Moving on. Moving on. That's enough insanity, Jake Sully. So the biggest roadblock the Avengers is running into right now is time. It kind of works out that everyone has a different amount of time they can commit to the game. Some people are obviously able to commit more time, so they progress faster, which means they practice more, which means, you know, they tend to do things a little better and stuff. And what they're kind of running into with the new Avengers is, you know, sometimes people just don't have the ability to spend 2 hours a night wiping their map clean and getting a buttload of intel and learning how to do amazing things with Smokey Zuka. Maybe a bad example right now because, as you can see, Flea Biscuit is rolling through with an AZ from the LC. No, I'm left side. Anyways, C, yeah, cider, left cider. Yes, cider starts with a C. Yes, that's totally what I was going for. Aha. So, obviously, the for, you know, I guess the daily ops versus the higher end ops, they kind of do a little of both. If they are working on something they can consistently beat, they'll try to move up to the next level. But if they can't sustain the intel requirements of that next level, then they will drop down to that easier, like, guaranteed win, I guess, or however you want to put it. Basically, like, the people can do the harder op, but then if they can't get the intel to sustain it, they do the slightly easier op, and they kind of go back and forth. So they might miss like a day every once in a while where they don't run an op, but that's so that they can build up their intel so they can do like a harder op, as long as that op is, you know, fairly sustainable. And so they obviously has a system that figures everything out, and when I say they, I mean Captain America and Thor and, well, okay, Greenbean and Flea Biscuit, but whatevs. Just saying, Tony Stark. I like his car collection. What can I say? He always has the coolest toys. In the Marvel universe, I guess, you know, technically Batman would take on the cool toy aspect, but we're not going to get into that. So for this task force, it is indeed an English-speaking task force based primarily out of the North Americas. The North Americas, that's right. All of them. All one of them. Yes, believe it or not, Canada still counts as the same North America as the States. And Mexico, but we're not going to talk about that. So yeah, everybody is English speaking, which is handy because, again, you know, if they didn't speak English, it would be hard. Obviously, I guess they could make special circumstances if there was like a French person in there, or someone who spoke Mandarin or something. They could probably work around it, but you know, if everybody's able to talk, and there's no need to worry about, you know, especially when you start mixing in a bunch of different languages, which I experienced in one of the other task forces that I was in, where, you know, it wasn't necessarily a breakdown. Like, they could still communicate, but then like it came to one point and someone said something and they kind of mistranslated it, and then it became a thing where they were like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I messed up, I didn't mean to," and the other person's like, no, you didn't mess up, you did good, things are good, you did good." And you know, so yes, if you can understand the words that are coming out of my mouth, chances are this task force you will be able to understand as well, which is fantastic. So moving on, aside from the usual like rules and whatnot in the message of the day, the unwritten rule is kind of, you know, keep chat clean. Not necessarily are you like gonna get kicked out if you drop a potty word, but don't roll around just trying to think of new swear words that are extra insulting that you could throw down and, you know, go crazy with. Man, lots of cryo attacks in this. We're gonna get to that in a minute, anyways. Yeah, you know, keep the chat clean, obvi, and because a lot of people are made the officers of the task force, the other rule is basically don't start an op that is too hard or too easy for like where the task force is. Basically, just use your head if you're going to start an op, and make sure that, one, you know, it's hard enough that the task force will be challenged, but two, it's not going to be impossible. Don't start dead end, and, you know, chill around that sour grapes-ish region. And again, as a disclaimer, the sour grapes thing is back when I was in their task force running around doing crazy things. I'm not sure what they're at now. I kind of want to check. No, I did too much hassle. Wake the dog up, it'd be horrible. Everything would go wrong. But yes, they were doing sour grapes. Now they're probably progressed a little bit further than that. So if you're looking for a task force that's a little bit past sour grapes, maybe on, what is it after sour grapes? It's Mambo and then sour grapes? Or sour grapes and then Mambo? I'm not really sure. I'm spoiled now. Someone else starts all these task force things for me on a daily basis. All I gotta do is show up with some Zukas and pew some things, or sometimes some tanks, or, you know, like whatever the map calls for, I guess. But regardless, with the intel, they're probably a little past sour grapes, so that's probably what they're starting. Bottleneck or Foxtrot? Foxtrot it. So of course, I've got to ask everybody, and I always know the answer before I ask, but I've just got to be that dink. Do you sabotage? And of course, as always, the answer comes back, No! It's a waste. It's horrible. Intel is too valuable to just throw to the garbage with some crazy craziness. Also, I'd like to point out, pretty awesome player attacking right now, Ermagerd. Um, yeah, I just to mix it up, just to try something a little bit different. I wanted to roll in with the uh, HMZC, or the Chisholm, if you prefer, which would be the Cryo Heavy Zuka Medics. And yeah, I decided I wanted to Chisholm all over the Quantum map, and it worked out surprisingly well. As you can see, someone had already done some pretty decent damage to the buildings and the whatnot that are floating around here, but I kind of wanted to open up that whole right-hand side, and open it up I did. I actually, like, I don't remember this at all. It's not even necessarily a fantastic attack, but I was exploring Chisholm, you know? I got to do what I got to do. Also, with the slowing effect of the cryos, it does hit those boom cannons just enough that, you know, it buys me those few extra seconds to take out the one last building, or two buildings, or three buildings, before finally wiping everything out and calling it a day. So it's kind of nice. I'm a fan. It did the job. It got rid of most of the nasty stuff, and at the very least, now instead of it being like a four shock landing kind of a thing, you can just stroll up without even smoking, except for possibly like the last two before the core, and get a nice easy win and move on. Yeah, I got really distracted by that attack. Sorry, so the favorite and least favorite maps, they're pretty straightforward with. Their favorite maps are anything that can be beaten in a single attack. And their most feared are anything they can't beat. Seems pretty fair, I'm just saying, like, makes sense to me. If you can't beat it, that's a good reason to be afraid of it. And if you can beat it, and you can beat it in one attack, then absolutely you should love that attack. Because, you know, then you got more attacks for other things, like Quantum, because we needed the two attacks. You see how that works. Alright, so the obviously the third party chat, you know, trying to figure out how to communicate better and whatnot. This particular task force does not use anything else. And then the changes that they were like, oh, I'd really love to see the ability to send private messages to individuals in the task force, you know, just so that not everything is blasted up front, you know, broadcasted for everyone to see. Because if they had instant message in the task force, they could talk to people and be like, hey, you know, work on this, without making it a big public affair, which maybe some people like a little less than others. And also the ability to select which defenses you want to destroy with sabotage. It would actually make people use sabotage if they could go, I want to blow this building up. And they could just like click on it and be like, boom, and have that defense go away. You know, might make it worthwhile to have... Oh, sorry. I just had to show Seaman Island here to finish off things. Oh, that's right. The Men of the Sea, Seaman Island. He's just... Of course, right? Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully it's been entertaining. And most importantly, hopefully you guys have a fantastic day.